Hi everyone and welcome to Press Loft's Christmas Trend webinar for 2026. I'm Nikki Snell, the founder of Press Loft, and I'm here today as always with the wonderful Amy Peelan, who looks after all things trends on the site. So this webinar is aimed at two audiences. For media, it's an indicator on the angles, stories and products that consumers will be looking for this Christmas. And for brands and PRs, it's a steer on which trends to lean into when you're shooting, uploading and pitching over the next few months. And before we dive in, just a quick word on how we put this report together. So each year we pull from a few data sources. So first of all, we've got 20 years of media search data at Pressloft, so we can see what journalists are actually looking for and how those patterns shift. And then second, the products our clients are uploading right now for the festive season, which is the earliest indicator we have of what will be in the shops and what the consumers will be buying this year. And then thirdly, we've got the search terms that journalists are using on the site. And then Amy does broader industry research across social listening and various industry reports. So everything you hear today is a blend of what's coming through our own platform and what's emerging in the wider market. So we've got 14 trends to get through, plus a short list of smaller emerging ones at the end. So we're going to get moving. Amy, shall we kick off with decor trends?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so first up, we have one of the more luxurious directions that we're seeing for 2026, which we have dubbed Grecian Banquet. And it leans into those really classical details, so urns, draped fabrics, floral motifs, busts, but it's all styled in a much more abundant and over the top way with layered tables, fruit piled high, lots and lots of candlelight, that kind of thing. For Christmas, while classical details work across the board, especially as baubles, this trend is particularly strong when it comes to tablescaping. So it's less about setting a perfect table and more about creating something that feels really rich and visually full. So dripping fabrics through the center, mixing your heights with serveware and candles, lots and lots of gold and gilded details running throughout. From a product point of view, literally anything sculptural works really, really well here, but also give attention to fruit motifs, brass candlesticks, velvets, anything that will make it a real feast for the eyes for the media, which they will love, especially as it's a perfect angle for any hosting features that want to lean a little more design led for the year ahead. Next up, then, is one that was actually in the running for a spot in last year's report but didn't quite make the final cut. This year, though, it's a total no brainer, and that is roll up, roll up. This is a trend all about circus themed decor, theatrical details, harlequin prints, basically a really joyful maximalist take on Christmas, which we love to see. Visually, it's all about bold colour and a bit of drama. So, stripes, diamond prints, patterns we've actually been seeing get a lot of love so far this year. Tassels, tents, statement decorations, even costumes as well. Think Nutcracker meets Big Top, so there's a slightly playful, over the top feel running through everything. Beyond decor, it's a really strong one for gifting as well, especially anything novelty led. But it's also for those bigger, more family focused features where consumers can really lean into the fun of it all. And from a media point of view, this is one of those trends that works as a perfect counterpoint to all those pared back, quiet luxury ones that we've been seeing. It's a deliberate more is more approach, which is exactly why it stands out for the year ahead. And next up, then we have Turkish Delight, and this is a slightly different take on festive colour and styling, which we love. It still leans into that sense of sweetness that you'd expect at Christmas, but it's much richer, more grown up. So less candy cane, less pastel, and a lot more focus on jewel tones, spiced colours, and a lot of layered textures. So visually, I would say it's quite indulgent. So think glossy finishes, decorative glassware, bold colour pairings, and even some details that might feel a little more unexpected. There's a lot of playfulness to it as well, but it never tips into anything overly sugary. It works really nicely across both hosting and gifting, especially where you want something that maybe feels a little more elevated, but still has a bit of fun and whimsy to it. And it's also a nice way to shift away from those like traditional festive palettes that we tend to see, so it feels a bit fresher without losing that sense of occasion. And then next on the list we have unusual trees, which, as the name would suggest, is all about rethinking the traditional Christmas tree. So instead of the usual setup, we're seeing people get a lot more creative with it. So everything from stacked books and paper trees to hanging installations and even more sculptural designs as well. Part of this trend is practical, as it's one that works really well for smaller spaces, but it also taps into that more personal, expressive way of decorating. There's a slight overlap here with this one with what Pinterest has been calling poet core, so using books and writing inspired elements as part of your styling, but we've broadened it out to look at alternative trees as a whole rather than just the literary angle. So it's less of a specific product trend and more of a styling cue that you can use for your shoots. But it's one that you'll start to see through in gift guides and decor features because it's such an easy way to do something different for 2026. And then last up for this section, we have Just Like the Movies, which is really about translating that classic, cozy Christmas feeling you'd see on screen into your real life. So it's everything you'd expect. Bows, eclectic baubles, pattern textiles, but all styled in a much more relaxed, lived-in way. So nothing feels too perfect or overly put together or like a showroom. And it's less about recreating a scene piece for piece and more about capturing those in-between moments. So soft lighting, slightly messy spaces, things that feel like they've built up over time. So you'll see it come through across the whole home as well, from front doors right through to living spaces, so it feels warm and welcoming before you've even stepped inside. It just feels really familiar, really comforting, and a bit more personal than some of the more polished looks that we've been seeing. You do start to see slightly different takes on this as well. So for some, they might lean more towards the old money aesthetic, so creating those traditional elevated looks that you'd see maybe like the McAllister home from Home Alone, whereas others would go more pared back, more Little Women Christmas with lots of handmade details and greenery as well. So there's a lot of flexibility with this particular trend.
So now on to entertaining trends. So the first one for me is Twixmas, which is the week between Christmas and New Year. And this is about celebrating that strange week between the 26th and the 31st of December. And the press has been giving it more and more attention each year. Google Trends actually shows the search term climbing steadily. And media are loving this because it's a nice addition to the normal content focus on Christmas entertaining, New Year's parties, resolutions, and health kicks. So for this one, you can pitch in a huge range of products from loungewear to slippers, slow cooking, puzzles, books, board games, candles, and comfort homeware. So for brands, if you can pitch a Twixmas angle in October and November, you're going to do really well for this one. Then next up, we've got Sober Curious Christmas, and this is the one we're flagging as the strongest emerging behaviour trend in the whole report. So for Christmas specifically, it's changing a lot. So hosting features, drinks rounds up, gift guides all need a sober angle now, not just a token mention, but they're getting their own proper sections. And products that work for this are alcohol-free spirits, premium soft drinks, alcohol-free sparkling, beautiful glassware. So the drink looks like an occasion, even when it's not alcoholic. We've got herbal and botanical mixers, mocktail kits, low and no gift sets. Also, an angle is suggesting cocktail recipes, particularly mocktail recipes from your in-house experts, and that will go down really well with the press. And this then leads into dry January articles afterwards, so it's a really good chance to get in early and extend the PR potential for this one. Next, we have Friendmas hosting and gift exchanges. So, Friendmas is the trend of celebrating Christmas with your friend group, usually on a separate date from the family Christmas, and it's treated as its own big occasion with its own gifts, foods, rituals, rather than a casual catch up. And it's becoming a real fixture on the December calendar. And I know that I do this with my best friends each year. For brands, this opens up a really big second hosting moment in your marketing calendar. So, tablescaping for 6 to 10 people rather than the families, gifts and exchanging products from the 10 to £25 range, which is that sweet spot for Secret Santas. Then we've got statement glassware, party games, novelty crackers, group gifting. Media angles are really big on this one. So, hosting guides, gift exchange roundups, Secret Santa edits, and party prep features. This one has been quietly growing for 3 or 4 years, and in 2026, it's going to be a really big media angle.
So, on our list of more fashion leaning trends, we're starting with brooches. And this is actually one that we flagged as a micro trend last year to keep on your radar. And to say that it's come into its own for 2026 is a bit of an understatement, especially because it's gained a lot of momentum thanks to being included in the Pinterest Predicts list for the year. They're definitely back, but not so much in a costume jewelry way, more in a considered, intentional statement way. So we're seeing a lot of people wearing them in groupings rather than just individual brooches, layered across lapels, scarves, bags, ties, lots of unique combinations, and often mixing vintage pieces with more new designs. It's a really strong one for gifting because it sits in a bit of a sweet spot. It can be really personal, it can lean a little more novelty and themed, you can go more affordable, more premium, more vintage, whatever works for you, and it still translates really nicely. Plus, it's one of those trends that crosses over different categories really well. So you've got fashion, gifting, a little bit of interior styling, depending on how people want to showcase their collections, which is why we're expecting to see it pop up quite a bit over the festive season. And next up, then we have All Hands on Deck, which is a bit more of a detail led trend, but it's one we're seeing absolutely everywhere at the minute. So, hand motifs had a big moment during the Met Gala and, wider fashion shows of the last season or two. So, things like hand shaped jewellery, sculptural pieces, prints, it's quite playful, it's quite surreal, and for Christmas that carries through into our decor as well. So you've got ornaments, candle holders, little decorative details, often quite sculptural and maybe a bit unexpected to break up your scene. It's quite fashion forward and it photographs really, really well because hands naturally have a lot of character. Plus, it's one of those motifs that really highlights the idea of connection and togetherness that is perfect for the festive season. And then next on the list, we have disco occasionally. And yes, that is influenced by Harry Styles. I'm not afraid to admit that. But while he definitely helped bring disco back into the spotlight, the wider disco revival has been building for quite some time, from fashion to music. And Christmas is the perfect moment to go all in on this trend. That's full glitz, full glamour, mirror balls, metallics, tinsels, shimmer tablescapes, anything that catches the light and leans into celebration. And it's one of those trends that carries straight through into our fashion as well. So we're talking sparkle from top to toe, from tinsel in the hair to glittery boots, flared sleeves, sequin bell bottoms, really embracing that disco era in a more playful, modern way. It's quite bold, it's very nostalgic, and it's just really fun. And it's perfect for what people who want to lean into the party season, not just for New Year's.
So now on to gifting trends. And my first one is unplugged Christmas, so going analog. And unplugged has been on our radar for 2 years now, and it's still growing. For 2026, we're seeing it sharpen into something a lot more specific. We're calling it the analog Christmas. It's snail mail revival, handwritten cards, wax seals, proper letter writing. And it's really unusual. Amy's found these analog newsletters, these pen pal clubs, so actual printed newsletters which are coming to you in the post, and subscriptions for those are booming. Pinterest is predicting it's up 110%. And it's a massive gifting category with huge PR potential. So we've got opportunities for stationery, fountain pens, sealing wax, beautiful notebooks, art supplies, craft kits, board games, puzzles, books, vinyl, instant cameras, anything tactile. And the well-being angle behind it can make a big part of the press releases. It's what's driving it. So screen fatigue is real. Drop that in as well. Christmas is when people most want to switch off and need to switch off. So media will be commissioning unplugged gift guides, family Christmas features, slow Christmas content. So if your products fit, get release ready now because this category is going to be commissioned heavily. Now, the next one for gifting is celestial motifs, and it's one we've flagged partly because Practical Magic 2 is out in September, right in time for the gift guide pitching, and that film is going to be pushing moons, stars, tarot, and witchy aesthetics really hard into the Christmas content. So product-wise, the looks to promote are moon and star ornaments, constellation prints, opalescent glassware, celestial jewelry, even tarot decks and oracle cards as gifts, maybe astrology-themed books and home accessories, stationery, anything. Also with midnight blue with metallic accents can work too. But differentiate it from generic festive sparkle by really leaning into the dark blues, the dark colours, the night sky, the mystical, rather than the glittery. We think media will pick this up alongside the film release, so PR should be pitching from July, maybe as late as September as well, to pick up on the actual launch date. Then, one of my favourites is the dog Christmas. So, dash hounds this year are the cute Christmas motif. iMessages sausage dog sticker is everywhere, and the dog as family member trend continues to drive really big gifting spend and really big amount of Christmas gift guide articles. But what's particularly interesting in this dog segment is that we're seeing a boom in breed-specific designs rather than unidentifiable generic dogs. So we've got dachshunds, as I mentioned, but we also have Dalmatians, Labradors, Greyhounds, Cockapoos. They're all getting their own ornaments and prints and gifts. So from products, anything with dogs on it, dog ornaments, dog prints, dog cards, breed-specific prints and cards, pet stockings, advent calendars for dogs, dog jumpers and coats, treats and dog Christmas gift sets, dog-themed homeware, all of these make really good press release themes. And then on the article side, we anticipate media will be covering all the normal gift guides for dog owners, pet Christmas features, novelty gifts, stocking fillers, but we think the emphasis will also be on these breed-specific roundups.
Okay, so just before we wrap up, we wanted to flag a few smaller trends that didn't quite make the cut, whether that's because they're a little more niche, or they're still developing, or they sit somewhat underneath bigger themes we've already covered. Either way, still wanted to flag just in case you have more products that align with these versus the broader themes we've already shown in the main report. So, starting off on the decor side, we have old money, and this is kind of similar to what Pinterest has dubbed the opera aesthetic. For us, though, it feels more like an elevated take on that traditional Ralph Lauren style Christmas. So, lots of heritage prints like tartans, velvets, really rich burgundy and navy tones at play. And alongside that, we're keeping an eye on dark romance, which is slightly moodier, a little more dramatic. We actually flagged this in our mini report for autumn winter 25, early 2026, but we're still seeing its influence ripple through. So we do expect to see some dark elements at play for Christmas 26. Into the Woods then is another one, bringing the outside in with a much more earthy, almost Yule-inspired feel. So lots of greenery, dried botanicals, natural textures, even dried fruits as well. And then we're also seeing Festive Folk, which plays into the folklore element of Christmas a little more. And then we have Y2K Medieval or Castlecore. This is one that's still developing, but we hope to gain traction. I mean, I do. It might just be my algorithm, but I've been seeing so much love for this aesthetic and the movies from the 2000s that fueled it as well. So I'm rooting for it for the new year, but we'll see. Another one worth flagging then is Christmas Villages, which is very much part of that modern heirloom story we've been seeing building, with people building their own collections year after year, and it becoming something that can then be passed on. We're seeing younger generations now start this tradition as well, so if you have anything that plays into this, utilize it as part of your PR. On to the gifting then, we've already touched on snail mail and pen pal subscriptions through the unplugged trend, but they're really starting to stand on their own. So if you've anything to do with stationery or anything that sort of ties into this theme, do utilize it as part of your strategy. We then have little trinkets, so charm-led gifting, which continues to grow after we flagged it last year. And then we're also seeing a lot of love around mother of pearl and iridescent elements across decor and gifting and fashion. Blind boxes then is another one to keep on your radar, especially as it's so easy as a stocking filler angle, especially for younger audiences. I mean, it can be something as simple as a small figurine to something that's actually functional. So for example, Kodak has done a blind box with functional digital cameras, which is really cool. It's slightly more expensive. So either way, depending on what your angle is, there's a lot of flexibility here. And then finally, on the fashion side, it's things like hair jewels, bejeweled accessories, opera gloves, also painted bags, like hand painted. All of these are smaller details, but we're definitely seeing them build a lot of traction, both for festive styling and gifting as well. So worth keeping them on your radar.
So that's our 14 main trends and the smaller ones to keep on your radar. A quick summary now of what to do next. So first, upload your Christmas products to Press Loft now with the relevant trend keywords tagged on every image. Christmas is already the top 5th search on the site, and we're still in May, so journalists are already looking. Second, send out your press releases in July with the trend name in the subject line where relevant. Journalists get hundreds and hundreds of press releases, sometimes a day, and the trend hook is what makes it cut through. If you can also include a relevant expert quote from someone senior in the business, that can be really useful to expand the coverage you can get. That ready made for the journalist to drop into their piece. And you can also watch our Christmas PR webinar on the video page on the site for more tips to get even more coverage. So for media, sign up to our free trend alerts at pressloft.com/trends. We push these out as they go live with ready-made image galleries and supporting products, as well as some statistics around it, so you can build your features really quickly. Anything you've heard today will be going live on the site over the next few months. So you can download this PDF report below the video. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Amy, for all of your amazing research. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a brilliant Christmas PR season.